Hello, hello. Hello. So nice to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you. How you doing?
I'm so good. How are you? You look lovely.
Real talk. My goal is to ask you some questions you've never been asked before. I want to take a stroll through your mind. Ready to get vulnerable? Ready for this?
I don't want to start with how are you because I feel like we're so trained to be like, good, how are you?
Oh my God,
I'm not going to start with that.
No? Okay,
no.
Great.
So instead of how are you, I'm going to start by asking, what do you like most about yourself today?
What I like most about myself is that I feel that, and I am embracing it, and I'm acknowledging all the love and respect I'm getting today.
Really? So you're receiving love?
Yes, because normally I'm like, oh no, they're just being nice to me, and maybe they don't actually mean it, and no, I don't deserve it, and all of that. But today I feel loved, and I feel worthy of the love and respect I get.
So you obviously are on Delhi Crime, which season 3, congrats. This is also our season 3. Congratulations to both of us. Do you think you're able to take it in right now because of the number of people that are praising you, or is something internally actually changed?
You know, when I played this part, particularly season 3, there's a shift in Vartika, which I was very worried that it may not land, because that was my understanding of her. Sadly, what happens is, you know, a lot of times histrionics, drama, screaming, shouting, raving, ranting, crying is considered as, wow, what a performance. And something very, very understated and something that's playing in the back of my head for her may completely go unnoticed and could be wrong, could be interpreted in a wrong way. But that did not happen. I was freaking out before the show dropped, but strangely, everyone's gotten exactly what I went out to do. Some didn't like it, which is fair enough. Mm-hmm. And I think, it's again re-emphasized that I don't think we give enough credit to the intelligence and sensitivity of our audience.
If you had this show 20, 30 years ago, would you be receiving this in the same way? Or is there something about how you've grown as a person that is allowing you to be like, no, you know what? I actually do deserve this and I'm worthy of this?
It's probably because it's come after such a long time of waiting. And it was, I always got the love, but it never translated into work, let's say. And then finally, Delhi Crime happens, and I am acknowledged and accepted, rather acknowledged as someone who can carry a show on her shoulder, which comes very rare in this particular industry because, one, I'm not conventionally pretty, and neither am I a 20-year-old. So if somebody had told me a couple of years ago that in your 40s, you're going to be headlining a show, I would have laughed. But that has happened, and consistently, calm down. Consistently over 2 seasons, I have been able to, you know, someone told me not a long time ago, but someone told me that your gut has never let you down. Follow it. And that's what I did, and that works. So until the next time, I'm not going to question it.
I love that. When you say that people didn't think a 40-year-old, older woman could carry a show, did you believe that you could carry a show? Did they convince you that you also couldn't carry a show?
I won't deny that I went into complete depression, or I was demotivated and questioned everything I did. And the most, sadly irritating, annoying, and pertinent question was, am I not good enough? And when Delhi Crime happened, it was like, whoa. And then, of course, after that, I did get parts which were leads or parallel leads or whatever. So that kind of re-emphasized that I can carry this off. And I can carry this off not because of anything else, but I think because of my honesty to the character.
You said that now that you've got Delhi Crime and you're like, I've done it, and people, now I'm getting leads, and now I know I could do it. And you feel like you're enough. Because for a long time you were asking, am I good enough? Am I good enough? If you didn't get this lead, would you feel like you're good enough?
No. If I did not get something after this show, this one that released, and there was a long time where I did not get anything, I would probably very easily slip back into thinking I'm not good enough. I don't have one of the most splendid self-esteems.
We're going to dive into that in a second because I want to go back and say you didn't say you're conventionally pretty. I don't like to compliment women solely on their looks, but I will say you're hot. Mama, you hot. You're also smart and talented and all those things. But the reason I asked is because you painted a picture for me that I think a lot of girls and women go through, which is we are operating in systems where it's hard for us to make it. And if you didn't get that achievement, you continue thinking you weren't good enough. So it shows this system of why it's so hard for women to have self-esteem, why it's so hard for us to be mentally healthy. Because we're operating with all this stuff and it's directly tied. It's not just tied to our accolades. It's not just tied to Filmfare Awards.
No, it comes from really deep within and really ages ago. It really does. And if you ask me to quantify or put a pin to it as to where it started, it would be practically impossible for me to doing it. But I know it started somewhere. And it must have been small things that contributed to it. But I think schooling, the way you get bullied, my first relationship, and all of it kind of, puts you into this thing of, oh, maybe really. I mean, how can you fail at everything? How can everyone not like you?
You said that you were kind of depressed before you got this role and you've questioned yourself a lot and you had low self-esteem. So I started this by asking what you like most about yourself. And now I'm going to ask kind of the opposite, which is tell me about that time where you didn't like yourself so much. And how did you get from there to here?
So there was a long patch where I did not have any work. My career has been more about waiting than actually working. So obviously I went through this up and down and what do I do and stuff. And I remember having this conversation once with my husband and my kids. They were a little old. I mean, they're much older now, but at that point of time, they were around 14, 15. And they said that, you could work every single day of your life and you could make a lot of money and you could be popular in your own space. Maybe not the lead, but, hero's mother or heroine's friend or auntie or whatever that is. You're choosing not to do it. And after quite some time, I realized that the kind of work I want to do is not going to come every day. It's not like I didn't get offers. It's a choice I made because I just would not be happy on the set and I would make my life miserable and the creator's life miserable. And it just seemed completely unfair. All I've probably come to understand, or I'm probably just blatant enough to say that I'm not pizza and I can't please everyone.
You said that you were told that the type of roles you want might not come every day and you're choosing not to work because you've gotten offers. What are the types of offers where you're like, that's not for me?
See, also, in commercial cinema, there was a hero, there was a heroine, there was a villain. There are other actors who are supporting cast who they treat like a sofa and a table. That is not what I wanted to do. That's just not what I wanted to do. I love what I do way too much to go and stand and do nothing. I don't mean like I genuinely believe that every scene cannot be yours or every moment cannot be yours, and it should not. You're a part of a much bigger picture. But what is the purpose of having me if there is nothing I can contribute to what the bigger picture is? And if I could be replaced with anyone and it didn't make any difference to the project, then you don't really want me for who I am, right?
Were you always like that? Because what you're describing right now is that I don't want to be treated replaceable.
No. Initially, I started with theater. I was really young when I started and I was doing intercollegiate and then theater and whatever. And everything seemed like a gift. And then I think I started taking myself seriously when people started commenting on how good I was. And then I said, okay, if I am that good, maybe I should wait. And then after a point of time, I realized I love what I do way too much. And it's not even just about playing a supporting cast. It's about if I don't instinctively feel drawn to what I'm reading, I don't think I'd ever be able to commit myself to something like that. And it's unfair. It's unfair on me. It's unfair on the producers and the director because I'll just probably do a shitty job.
That's one of the most confident things I've ever heard someone say. I will say, you're basically saying that I am worth enjoying what I do and it needs to be fair to me. And
that goes without saying.
And that's a version of self-love that's really strong and powerful.
That I can say without shying away from it at all. I've never chosen to do something that I'm not happy about. I will not do it.
Only professionally or also personally?
Personally, you do make a lot of adjustments.
Ah, here we go. The adjustments happen personally. Okay.
Yes, they do. They do happen.
I want to get into that. And the way I want to actually get into that is your directorial debut was a film called Mamiji.
Yes, happy birthday, Mommy.
Yes, happy birthday, Mamiji. First, let's talk about that project for a second, because that's a pretty brave message to say that women should take a break from all these roles that they're expected to do. I can't help but think that one, some people disagreed with that, probably felt some type of way about that. One, let's start with, why did you do that project? Were you pulling from your own experience, or why that project?
We were in COVID. The honeymoon lasted exactly 5 days with the entire family being together. And then we were in each other's hair. And we all really wanted to get out and breathe and be. And it got me thinking that I live in this place where all of us have our homes, our rooms. What happens to all those women who live in a joint family, who are living probably in a 2-bedroom apartment? This must be so claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this thought came.
So you have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
Do you take a break from being a mom sometimes?
Oh, they've taken a break from being my sons.
Really?
Absolutely.
But the
They're
question was,
old.
have you taken a break from being their mom?
Not while they were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I have to still remind myself sometimes that, you know what? It's finally their life. There's only this much I can do. And I still have this strong urge to, correct it or tell them, listen, this is where it'll go south if you don't, or if you do this. But then I realized that, okay, this is their life. And genuinely, like I said, there's only this much I can do. So there are these occasional, most of the times now, actually, I kind of step back.
In your mind, is taking a break from being a mother as simple as just taking a step back, or is it proactively doing something for yourself as well?
Luckily, I do what I do for myself. I love being on a set. It's probably my happiest place. I wouldn't say no to it for anything in the world. Unless anyone in my, the ones I love, if any one of them need me medically, I'll drop everything to be there. But besides that, you know what? If people don't find food in the house, just too bad. Bathroom's dirty, don't poop.
I love that. Because here at Unicorn Island Fund, we actually do a lot of really great research. And we just got some results of our research back. And I've actually never talked about this, but it lines so well with what you're saying, which is, so we look at what social norms we can break and adjust and progress, and which ones are non-negotiables when it comes to gender equality. And when it comes to stories like, how can we show a character that breaks a social norm so we can progress things, and when are we going too far? And one of the interesting things we've learned about Indian culture specifically is that one non-negotiable for female Indian characters is they have to be maternal. They have to take care of the families. They have to be so aligned with their families and the caregivers of the families. And when that doesn't happen, that's a deal breaker for a lot of audiences. They are like, this character has gone too far. She's not taking care of the family. She doesn't want kids. What do you think about that?
I keep giving this analogy, which is, like in society, you're recognized by the relationships you have. X's wife, Y's daughter, Z's mom. When I used to ask earlier, when I got offered a part, and I would say, so what's the character? And they would say, oh, it's the hero's mom, or it's this one's daughter, or it's this one's wife. And I was like, no, that's the relationship. What is the character? And they didn't know what to say.
Wow.
So they didn't even see a woman if she did not have this packaging around her. But I think it is changing. For example, if you take Delhi crime, her husband is the one who's understanding. She is stubborn and she does exactly what she wants to a point of almost neglecting what is going on at home. But her husband is the one who's taking care of her. Making sure that he's there when she comes home, or, being like, okay, I know you need to go. It's, and it's not like I'm allowing you to go. It's about saying, yeah, I get it. Or I did this film called 3 of Us, where she's slipping into dementia. Yes, she does have a medical condition, which she's going to lose her memory, but she is a mother of a young boy, and yet she's okay about saying, I need to go and find that love, or the possibility of what could have been. I just need to go and find that again. So these are changes in their own way. They may not be drastic, in your face, underlined, but they are.
What would you say to a mother who is, listening to you right now, watching this, and she goes, oh my God, the idea of taking a break from being a mother and doing something for myself, that would make me feel guilty. What would you say to her?
Wait for a couple of years. You won't feel guilty. Trust me.
Keep doing it. Exposure therapy.
No, it's just, you want to do it for the rest of your life? Feel free. And honestly, who am I to tell anyone what they should or should not do? You've got to figure what your comfort level is. And it's not about putting anyone down. It's like, why does it have to be, I'll care for them or me? Why can't it be, I'll care for them and me? It's really as simple as that. And yes, you may not be appreciated if you're spending time and, oh, you didn't cook today. But I'm hoping the world has kind of changed at least, no? Thoda sa. I didn't cook. You feel like ordering for yourself? Feel free to order for me as well.
I'm going to get your face tattooed on my body. Literally. Yes, mama. What about as a wife, a friend, a sister? You talk about these other roles. Do you take breaks from those as well?
No, not as a friend. It's probably the strongest, that's my strength. My friends are my vertebrae, my spine. I cannot emphasize and re-emphasize the importance of having your girl gang. It's just priceless. I was talking to these friends of mine and I said, so if you had to pick the same husband or the same kids, what would you do? Half of them said we wouldn't get married. The other half said we would get married but not have kids. The rest of the lot said, none of the two. And some said, probably pick a different husband or children. Not one said, I would pick different friends. And that is priceless. And I really cannot re-emphasize it enough. When you're talking about women finding space for themselves, that is that safe space. If you can be alone, read your book, watch the sea, great. If you can't, you have to have that safe space to go to. Otherwise, you're going to go cuckoo.
And you're talking about female friends specifically.
Yes.
I feel like women at a certain age, they think they can't make friends anymore.
Yes.
So many of my aunties, when they say friend, they mean another auntie who's their sister, which is nothing's wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think this ability to have friends just because you get along or have similar hobbies, they think they can't do that anymore.
Right. So there are two things to this, okay? One is we use the word friend very, very lightly. Like they're everything to me. And two, they're not there because I have no one else to look to. We picked each other in this entire globe. And some of my friends, in fact, actually barring one of my friends, who's my oldest friend, we met when we were both around 15. We met on a play. My best friend is our kids were in kindergarten together. And that's where I met her. And that entire gang of girls. So yes, you're right. As you get older, it is difficult, but then those relationships you make are probably lifelong.
You have two sons.
Yes.
And how old are they?
22 and 23.
22 and 23. Okay, so they're growing up in a world with social media, with a lot of information, with a lot of noise.
Yes.
How do you raise two sons in a world where there's so much conversation about alpha males and traditional wives and just gender expectations in general?
So, when I did season 1, it was about the Nirbhaya case. And I was often asked that, how do you correct it? And I said, of course, we put the responsibility on the society and the government and the cops and blah, 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 blah. But what I felt as a mother of sons was that if our daughters would be safe if our sons are raised right. So I figured this one line, which I told them and which I think works for everyone, is that you treat others the way you expect to be treated yourself. It's really just as simple as that. There's nothing more and nothing less. The rest of the baggage, there's a lot of noise. There will be a lot of noise. Would you like to be treated like this? No? Then don't do it to another person. Really, that's how I tried doing it. I tried doing it. Did I succeed? I will only know by the time they're 30. They're growing. They're going to have point of views. They're going to want to refute everything an adult or a parent says or the mother says. And they're going to question it and they're going to, kind of conflict it. Honestly, sometimes I even feel that if they are going to behave badly, I'm not going to take responsibility for it. I cannot. I did my best. I may not have been the best mother, but every time, if the child behaves badly, you didn't do good parenting. Arey, that person has a mind of their own. I did as good as I could. So, yeah, I think it's all of it, but I think they'll turn out half decent.
When you say that, you know the term king syndrome? It's when sons are treated in a way where they can do no wrong and their mother will take responsibility for them.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think that if your sons go off and are they married?
No.
No, if they go off and get married and if, their partner's a wife and the wife comes and says, your son's like this, would you hold them accountable? Because when you're saying, I'm not going to take responsibility for my sons if they act a certain way, I actually really like that because I think that's important. I think too often mothers for their sons just make a bunch of excuses for them being the way they are. And I think more mothers need to be like, no, you need to actually be accountable for your actions.
Until they're kids, they're in your control. After a point of time, they have a mind of their own. They have the kind of freedom that we never had. How am I going to make this person just by myself? I cannot do it. There's going to be a lot that's going to kind of mold this person. And finally, after all that noise and information and suggestions and, all of it, he or she's going to come up by themselves and what they create of themselves. I can't keep taking responsibility for people. And if my daughter-in-law says, your son did this, I said, I know. I sympathize. Let's go have a drink.
Speaking of your sons, when you were growing up, what were you taught that a good girl is?
Well, obviously someone who listens, who respects, who lets go. Somebody says, "Jaane do na, bolne ki kya zarurat hai?" She follows the norms. She lets it go. She does not, she's not...
Doesn't question.
She doesn't question. She doesn't fight. She doesn't rebel. That's a perfectly good girl.
This concept of being a good girl is tied to marriageability and when you get married. But if a young girl was watching this right now, I think you do encourage people to get married later.
There are 3 things.
Tell me the 3.
One is, please don't do it when you're a child, for God's sake. You don't even know whether you like your elbow or your ass. So just calm down. Don't do it. Okay? You've got to meet people and get to know people before you make that ultimate choice. I'm not saying you cannot have a college sweetheart or a school sweetheart. Of course you can. But all I'm saying is until you're dead sure, do not do it. And forget earlier or later. I to keep saying this and I got trolled also for it. That if you do not believe in the institution of marriage, and trust me, it's a lot of work, please do not do it. You'll be left with oh God, what do I do? And then it's not even fair to just step back. It's really not. Just because you woke up one day and said, oh, I don't feel like doing this. Excuse me? That's why be old enough to figure that out. Like this friend of mine, and she's like, her daughter's 25. She doesn't have a boyfriend. I said, great. But then how will she find? I said, are you nuts? And she keeps complaining about her marriage all the time. And I'm like, aren't you why would you put your daughter through this? Please tell me, why?
It's a disease that we're passing on.
No, she should settle down. And what do you mean by settle down? So if you get married, you're settled. What do you mean settle down? What does it even mean?
I'm going to ask you a really honest question. One of the things I really struggle with is I do not live in India. My parents were born in Punjab. I grew up in Indian culture, sure, but I was born in Canada. So when I come here, I do consider myself a guest and I consider myself learning the nuances of the culture. And so I am kind of stepping on eggshells a little bit because, of course, my charity in this conversation is all about gender equity. I very honestly say, I'm here for the girls and women. My challenge is that the person that's sitting there is a famous celebrity that also has a reputation. And especially if it's a woman, I sympathize with the fact that she's thinking gender is not an easy topic to talk about, especially in this culture. I don't want to say certain things because the men are going to be really mad at me. I have to make sure that my future projects and my publicists don't get mad because I'm saying X, Y, Z. But you are sitting here saying, if you don't want to get married, don't get married.
Yes.
You're saying a bunch. How are you doing that in such a fearless way? And what advice do you have for me? Because I struggle with this.
Like I said, I'm not pizza and I cannot please everyone. And I am tired and I don't want to do it anymore.
But do you believe what you're saying right now is going to...
Absolutely.
I know you believe, but do you believe it's going to hurt your career?
No. I don't think so. Because what I'm saying is honest. And honestly, how many people are going to watch an interview and live their life accordingly? They may be inspired by snippets, but I refuse to give myself so much importance to believe that somebody's going to change their life according to me. And if they do, at least they'll remember, take your time.
I'm 37 and not married.
Can I say something? I'm going to get so badly trolled. As if I don't say enough that don't get married.
Bring it.
Don't have children. I say, but have dogs.
That's what I've been saying.
Just get dogs.
The only form of unconditional love,
Totally.
in my opinion.
Totally.
Wow. Thank you so much for validating me. Let me switch to a serious note, which is a lot of your projects, Monsoon Wedding, Darlings, Delhi Crime, they deal with pretty heavy subject matter. They have themes around systemic trauma and systemic abuse and all those types of things. And they have really strong female characters. When you watch Delhi Crime, it's a very intense world. And so I'm curious, what protects you emotionally when you're playing these types of characters?
I don't want to be protected emotionally. I want to feel it to the magnitude. I want to feel it. If I don't feel it, how will it show? I want to be a wreck when I'm doing that scene. I want to feel very deeply.
Do you take that home, though?
When Ria had that outburst in Monsoon Wedding, she drained herself out. That moment consumed her. That's exactly what happened to me. I didn't have anything to take back home. I just did not.
A lot of the shows also talk about abuse, which is obviously a really heavy and unfortunately very common thing as well. I remember I read a study once. I don't remember verbatim what it said, but it said something along the lines of approximately 50% of Indian women think it's okay for their husbands to hit their wives. And that broke my heart. I don't know how to deal with that, to be honest.
It's terrible.
So when you're doing shows like this about abuse, knowing that 50% of women think it's okay, does that make you want to keep doing shows like this, not doing shows like this? Does it make it feel less? How do you think about that?
But luckily for me, whether it's Vartika or it is Ria who stood up and, exposed her uncle who had molested her as a child, or it is Darlings where she very easily tells her daughter, let's just kill him. There is something that, I don't know whether it will change lives, but there is something that's underlining that this is not okay. This is not okay. So you don't have to deal with this. And anyone who tells you otherwise, it's really time for you to get out of that space. I remember one of my very close friends, she was in a marriage which was abusive, not physically, but emotionally. And one fine day, he kind of hit her. They were both fighting and got angry and whatever. And she called me and she said, Chef, what do I do? And I said, walk out right now. And she said, it's not easy. I have a child. I said, exactly. Because you have a child. He's going to grow up with the idea of marriage. This is the idea of marriage, where two people fight. They hate each other. They're living in an uncomfortable, unhappy relationship. And it's perfectly fine to go around screaming, shouting, raving, ranting, and throwing things at each other. That's terrible. You have the opportunity to at least let your child make his own idea of marriage rather than showing him the mirror. And saying, okay, this is what it is. This is perfect. This is the path you're going to follow. She did leave that marriage. She got remarried. She's very happy. And I love how my nephew's blossomed. And yeah, I call him my nephew because, she's like sister. So
I love that. I started by saying Delhi Crime is such a massive show. It's so successful. Your character resonates with so many people, millions of people across the globe. But it's a heavier show. Why do you think that character resonates with so many? What is it about her that people are gravitated towards? Besides the fact that you're a badass and you play her, what is it about that character?
I think it is a strength, but I also think more than her strength is she's very human. She feels it very strongly. She's vulnerable. She makes mistakes. And she has a lot of empathy. And, it's always like you feel that power comes from strength. I feel power also comes from vulnerability. Because if you didn't feel this strongly, why would you want to fight so hard to correct it? I think that is what people love about her. And then, of course, she's got the power to kick people. So that's like perfect.
Now, considering you're so open, we absolutely have to do some shameless confessions.
Yes. I have
have some prompts here on these cards. Okay. And these are just confessions. I don't think you have a filter anyways, which is why I'm obsessed with you. But here are some prompts for you. Ready? What's the most outrageous rumor you've ever heard about yourself that you almost wanted to encourage?
Encourage? Oh. So when my kids were really little, one of my very close friends, she said, you know what? I heard somebody told somebody in my building that when she was married earlier, Shefali was married earlier, she had a child and she left the child. She's abandoned the child. I was like, I hope you said she's abandoned too. What? Like what? This is something you don't even get angry about. You just laugh. Like you can't possibly be like, I mean, it's so stupid. But you know, this is my reaction to any kind of rumor. ये है और कुछ बोल दो. Because what is this rubbish? And how can you know, earlier probably I would get affected by it that, oh my God, people. Now I'm like, what are you even talking? I am actually, validifying your nonsense by giving it a reaction. I think I used wrong English, but it's okay.
Validating.
Teamwork
makes the dream work. I got you. What is one boundary you pretend you have, but you actually break all the time?
If my son talks to me in a rude manner sometimes, and I want to say, you know what, I'm not going to take your shit. And then after some time, it's just like, he's a child, he doesn't know better.
True.
So I do sometimes come back to that, like.
What's one thing you secretly judge people for?
Honesty.
Which character of yours would be the worst person to date in real life?
Vartika could be very difficult to date.
Why?
She's stubborn. And she's like, I will get my way and I will do what I do. And she loves what she does so much that she could probably put everything on hold if she had to go and save the world. So she'd be difficult. I think Shailaja would be very easy to date. She'll keep forgetting. Just keep starting all over again every day.
I'm younger than you, obviously, so you don't have to listen to anything I say. But I do think I can be pretty smart sometimes. I have a thought I want to end with. Are you ready?
Yeah.
When we started this, you said that if you didn't get the role of Delhi Crime, that you don't know if you would ever feel like you're enough because your self-worth is kind of tied to that accolade, lead actress, right? But then you also talked about when you read your scripts, you don't like looking at the women through their relationships. So just someone's mother, just someone's sister, just someone's wife. I think that if I was reading the script about you, I would also not view you through your accolades either. Because you being a lead actress is another relationship.
Thank you.
I really do believe that. And so I think no matter what roles you get in the future or don't get, you are absolutely enough. You are so much more than lead actress. I mean, it's really cool that you are, but you are so much more than that. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on Shameless.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Shefali, we have 20 seconds. Tell the people why they should subscribe.
Hi, I'm Shefali Shah. And if you want to hear something honest, brutally honest, naked, and raw and real, this is what you should hear.
Yep. Subscribe to this channel.
And subscribe to this channel.
Like and comment.
And hear it again.
Do it all the things. Well, she said.